For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today we have sitting in for Derek, Relentless Bill Robinson. How you doing this morning, Bill?
Morning, Michael. I'm outstanding.
Well, we got a lot to discuss, as I'm sure all of you saw over the weekend. It was announced that former resident Joe Biden has what appears to be terminal prostate cancer. And again, I wish him and his family well. Hopefully he does recover. But I don't think this cover-up is anything new. And we're going to just go ahead and just jump right into some of the headlines this morning. Urologist Dr. Schusterman says Biden's doctors likely knew he had prostate cancer for the last 5 to 10 years. Top experts respond to cover-up of Biden's aggressive cancer. Inconceivable it was not spotted during presidency. And let me go ahead and pull one more slide here. Timing of 3 big Sleepy Joe stories raises eyebrows and questions. You know, I really think that this was intended to distract from the release of the Her interviews and all the lies circulating that, the cover-up of Biden's mental decline in office. But I think this is drastically backfired. I think they were hoping for a wave of sympathy, but instead it's just opened up to endless more questions.
Well, I'm not buying any of it. You know, raising eyebrows, I'm way past the raising of eyebrows.
Yeah.
I leave that to the incels and the simps out in the media and out in the political world, and we're surrounded by them. This reminds me of the Mafia Don, who 1 minute is walking around free at his social club in Brooklyn wearing pinky rings and having people killed at a moment's notice, who then is wheeled in when he's finally caught by Rudy Giuliani and locked up and indicted and tried for a bunch of 30 different crimes, and then he's wheeled into court with an oxygen tank and a neck brace. No, I'm not buying it at all. Biden's he's a coward who tried to destroy this country. I'm sorry. This is going to be my unchristian moment for the day, or hopefully the week or month or year, but I'm going to get real unchristian about this. The sympathy window is closed. It slammed shut a long time ago with Biden. Whenever he gets himself in trouble, and it's like all the time, you can look at your watch. There it is. He doesn't know how to answer a question. He gets stuck. He immediately changes the subject to the horrific car crash that his wife and child died in. And that was he's been doing that for 30 years. And so the sympathy window is open on their side, but it's closed on our side. And then he started of course, the Robert Hur tape showed him mischaracterizing the date his son died of brain cancer. They always have to put in brain cancer, so they make it like the worst kind of brain cancer. So I mean, I'm so tired of his like ridiculous reaches to get the sympathy from good people. And of course, when his wife and child died, the next thing he did was marry the babysitter, Jill Biden. 10, 15 years his junior. So no sympathy for this guy.
Yeah, well, to your point too, with the her interviews, like it struck me, he always does this. He leans on his son's death, which again is a horrible thing. But he leans on that when he thinks he's doing poorly in an interview. And I think that's exactly what happened with the her tapes. That he was trying to get some sympathy from her during this interview. It wasn't a public thing. Maybe he'll back off on some of the difficult questions because again, this is no surprise, and this is something else that we're starting to see people bring up. But yesterday, like even when you and I were talking, Biden slipped up and said he had cancer while telling a story in 2022. I remember when this happened. I remember talking about it, and at the time, we attributed it to just another, Biden's broken brain, that he said this, that it wasn't true, that he just misspoke. Well, apparently he was telling the truth, and we all pegged it wrong. He slipped up and told the truth, and so did his brother. Flashback: Frank Biden accidentally blurted out that Biden was terminally ill in July of 2024. So this is just before he got annihilated at that first debate with President Trump, when the Democrats knew the election was over. But at the time, we were questioning this, like, was this a slip up, or was this supposed to create more sympathy for Biden, or what? But again, apparently, and they passed it off as that his brother just slipped up and misspoke. Well, again, apparently he was telling the truth, and it's us for the dummies that, we're the dummies because Biden, the DNC, and everyone around him were lying, and it was all in the pursuit of power. They thought if he was off the ticket that Kamala would lose. I'm sure they knew how brain dead and worthless she was too, and that they could. Basically, I think that they had intended to swap her in, but knew if they did it too far out from the election, then the free sample that the U.S. Voters got of Kamala Harris would be enough to sink her chances of winning. So I think they were trying to prop this corpse up as long as humanly possible, keep him in the race, because they knew that whenever they airdropped in Kamala, if we got too long of a look at her, nobody would want her.
That's absolutely right. And Steve Bannon said this morning that what we need to do is just seize all the records at Walter Reed Army Hospital and from the Navy doctors that treated, I guess his name is Kevin O'Connor. We don't get to see him much because obviously he couldn't withstand scrutiny. You never saw him coming on the air and talking about how healthy Biden was because he wouldn't do it wisely. And so I mean, I think it's right. We got to get to the bottom of this. We got to start indicting people, and this is aiding and abetting a treasonous act on the part of the doctors. If they hid it and obfuscated it, they need to be imprisoned for it because that's treason. It's not just fraud or I made a mistake. See, this is part of the criminal avoidance scheme of Democrats. Whenever they're caught with their hand in the taxpayer money jar, they're like, oh, I was stupid, or oh, I had a gambling problem, I'll go to rehab, or oh, I'm a pedophile, but I'm working on it. I'm seeking redemption. No, none of that works, and we've got to just steamroll over those protests and take them right into criminal court. And we've got to stop charging them with fraud and theft. As Doge moves along and as they find all these different thefts of American taxpayer money. That's not just theft or fraud, it's treason. You steal Americans' taxpayer money, you should be shot at dawn like George Washington would do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, like, I think this really puts the nail in the coffin. This proves that this was a DNC cover-up for the last 4 years, that this guy was mentally incapable. Well, we'll even give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll say only going back the last 2 years of Biden's presidency, that his brain was completely broken. I mean, I think it was the whole time. I think other people were calling the shots, that it was really Barack Obama and others behind the scene, as we're beginning to learn now. I hear there's a tape out there of Obama admitting this now. Now, I wasn't able to find it this morning, but apparently this is going to be a story breaking over the next few days, is that basically Obama was caught on tape admitting that he was really running the Biden presidency for all 4 years. And I'm sure that's true. Well, some people in the media are reacting a little differently than I would expect, but it is Van Jones. And, as I've stated before, I think Van Jones is wrong on 99% of issues. There's very few things I think he's he's correct on, but he is a lot more honest than most other Dem pundits. He will call things the way he sees them, and he is pretty consistent with applying the same rigor to both sides of the aisle. Van Jones, Dems will pay for covering up Biden's decline for a long time. And he is not wrong. He's 100% correct on this. And I really think this was kind of, to a certain extent, castigating the Democrats for covering this up. That this is going to now negatively impact them, not just for 2026, but probably 2028. Because the big thing that we're missing here is this broke whatever trust they had left with American voters. Now the Democrat Party is seen as covering this up, lying to the American people. And this isn't a one-time incident. This isn't them freaking out and going the wrong direction, trying to cover up some kind of scandal. This is a long-term operation that was intended to defraud the American people and cover up the truth about the corpse, allegedly running our country.
Yeah, I've had it with Van Jones. I mean, he experiences these convenient moments of lucidity where he's all of a sudden criticizing the Democrats for about 10 seconds. And then he goes right back to Trump bashing. I'm sorry. That, in my opinion, Van Jones is a Manchurian candidate of his own, just like Biden was. And just like all the Democrat presidents really are. They're empty suits. But Van Jones is there mainly to shill for CNN and Marxist media. And he's a diversity hire. They hired a black man, put some spectacles on him, and they expect him to woo in the black voters and keep them voting Democrat. No, Van Jones' time has long since expired, and just let's pray Fox News doesn't hire him because he needs to go the way of And by the way, I'm tired of Fox News having Kevin McCarthy and all the Bushies on there, starting with Dana Perino. I'm sorry, Dana's nice and we all want to like her and everything. She's a Bushie. And she has Ari Fleischer and Karl Rove and all these awful people on there who are just chomping at the bit to lie about and smear about Trump. But instead they try to pick his issues apart and act like they're smarter than President Trump. They are not.
No, and they've been proven wrong over and over again. Yeah, that's the big problem with Fox News is, the left wants to pretend they're somehow completely in the tank for Trump and for Republicans, but it isn't really that. It's they run air cover for these globalists, these deep state Republicans, the rhinos that all of us on the right have come to hate because they stab us in the back every chance they get. They're, in reality, much more damaging to our agenda than even Democrats are. At least they stab us in the front, whereas you never know when these rhinos are going to sell us out, or as we've discussed on this program multiple times, right now they are basically a political sabotage operation. That's why we've only seen 5 bills make it from Congress to President Trump's desk since he was inaugurated. Right now they're trying to slow walk things, not accomplish any of the goals that we put them there for, and then when we get up to the 2026 election, that's going to be their rallying cry to why we need to vote for them again, is so they can accomplish all the things that they didn't do when they were given the chance the first 2 years that President Trump was in office. And honestly, I do think that, again, like we've said multiple times on here, I think the Republicans are going to pick up a lot of seats in the midterms, but it isn't going to be because they've done so good and they've accomplished so many things. It's going to be because the Democrats are so bad and because we are going to have a booming economy as this over $10 trillion of new investment in the U.S. is really starting to take effect another year from now. But we're going to discuss that more later.
Yeah, so the things you mentioned there, I live in North Carolina, and one of the country gentlemen who's my mentor always says, the Republicans support the Second Amendment so strongly, yet we turn around and shoot ourselves in the foot. And it's so true because, like you said, we'll fall into a bigger majority in the Senate and the House, provided we don't tolerate any more nonsense from this feckless media. But I've got to say that, let me give my hat message for the day. We are in the middle of Operation Save America. This is the most important thing anybody can be doing in our country today. And we have to keep fighting. I know a lot of great Christian conservatives, 100% MAGA Trump supporters, who are like, phew, Trump's in the White House. Our work is done. Nope. Our work is just starting. And like I was concerned, everybody was concerned about some of the people that the president surrounded himself with in his first term, and it worked against him. He accomplished amazing things in spite of all the external and internal infighting and the internal and external, kind of subversion of what he was trying to do. Now in the second term, we all thought it was better. But when I heard Dan Bongino and Kash Patel yesterday morning on Maria Bartiromo on Fox News say that, no, we can tell you authoritatively that Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide. They're pushing up against a few years of jokes like, what do Jeffrey Epstein and Christmas lights have in common? Neither hang themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I'm sorry. Okay. Gee, Kash, I don't know that I accept your word. Dan, I might accept your word a little bit more, but we want to see the proof. So, like, it's not good enough for you to say we've looked at the evidence and he didn't commit suicide. I'm not buying it, because that's a place, the Tombs in New York City is a place they send people to be suicided. And we haven't, this Epstein was the highest profile suicide there, And, so I'm really worried about what's going on in the Trump administration. I'm seeing some of the decisions he's making regarding endorsements and endorsing rhinos. And so, I think we all need to be hyper aware right now. We need to be more on the case than we were even during the run up to the election last year.
Yeah. Well, the Trump endorsing rhinos is something that, I've discussed before. And whoever's advising Trump on some of these endorsements needs to undergo a reality check or be replaced or be removed from Trump's ear, because there are a lot of unfortunate decisions being made there. I think we're going to probably dive more into the statement or the interview with Maria Bartiromo tomorrow. Sorry, I can't talk this morning. Because we got so much else to cover today. I don't think we're going to actually get to it. But yeah, I agree 100%. Like, okay, if you guys saw some kind of evidence that leads you to not believe that this is a suicide, because everything the public's been told, nobody believes it. The cameras went down, the guards were asleep. He was pulled off suicide watch and put into this cell by himself just days beforehand. It doesn't add up. So if you guys have seen real proof, like maybe they magically recovered the camera footage and it does show him, hanging himself, I'll believe it when I see it. But otherwise, I don't. They're not going to twist and turn and get out from under that without showing some kind of evidence. People aren't going to believe it. And unfortunately, it hurts their credibility more than anything else. They'd be better off just saying that they're still reviewing all this stuff and whatever else. I need to watch the full interview, and then we're going to tear that apart tomorrow. We also have this, though. Ted Cruz says Biden did not speak to him, other GOP senators, for his entire presidency. They were clearly hiding him. And I don't know if you remember this story that came out from Mike Johnson, and again, why he didn't talk about this in the lead up to the election. But I want to say it was like in January of 2024 that he'd had a meeting with Biden regarding restrictions that were put on liquid natural gas exports from Louisiana to Europe. And Biden didn't remember signing the executive order. He had no idea what he was talking about. He thought it was a scientific study. So either somebody was lying to him, or his brain was just already completely broken and it was being covered up, which we all know that's the truth. But also, like, did someone else auto-pen this executive order? There's just so many questions now that open up, because now the truth has been exposed. Now that these HER tapes are out, and now that we have this admission on the cancer and everything else. So just how far did this cover up go, and who was really pulling the switches?
Oh, they were all involved in it. I mean, Robert Hur. Let's take a look at this guy. He comes out with after these damning video interviews with a demented Biden. He's coming out and saying, "Oh, he's a kindly old man with a memory problem." I'm sorry, Robert Hur. Your credibility's just been shot. Try to get a job in a major law firm. Oh, that's right. Cooey's, Perkins Coie will hire you. But the point is, I think that the media, Robert Hur, all of these people, Bob Bauer was the lawyer interjecting with her and trying to save President Biden's bacon. This is all just, this is a subset of, the Manchurian Candidate strategy that they remodeled and retarded for Biden. Remember, the Manchurian Candidate wasn't a brain damaged, criminally corrupt, pedophile and traitor. he was, actually somebody who could stand up there and be credible sounding when they spoke. Biden was never a statesman or never was, friends, have been all over the world and friends with all the world leaders. He was a laughing stock in the Senate. His only friend was McCain. So that tells you so much. The point is, the Manchurian Candidate strategy was developed as a direct result of that great clip of Obama talking about what I'd really love to do is control the next president from my basement and my sweats and kind of say, okay, now you say this. So somebody acted on that idea and said, well, Joe Biden being a complete inert agent would be perfect for this. And then, of course, they were going to have Kamala in there. So the whole thing is, again, it's treason. It's not anything else. It's not you can't minimize it or reduce it. They stole this country for 4 years, and there should be absolutely no mercy, and there much less sympathy. Sympathy, forget it. You're not even getting any mercy. Just forget it, man. The mercy window's closed too, and it's hard for a Christian man to say that, but it's getting easier for me because I feel like God Almighty and His only begotten Son Jesus Christ probably feel the same way.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The lies and cover-ups only get them so far. At this point, my sympathy, my mercy, it's pretty much gone too. We've known they've been lying to us for 4 years. And if they hadn't gotten caught like this, we never would have gotten the truth. That's what really makes this so sick and disgusting. And the fact, again, that our whole media, rather than doing their job, this just proves it once again, that these are not reporters, these are not journalists seeking the truth, that these are just Democrat mouthpieces masquerading as journalists to manipulate the country. Guys, we got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to...
Almost ran the commercial again. Guys, thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs here on X American News is by supporting our sponsors. You can do that by going to My Store or MyPillow. Use code Insurrection. You'll get the deepest discounts that Mike Lindell, MyPillow, and My Store have to offer. And again, right now, Mike Lindell is getting set to go on his jury trial against the machine companies. I think that's June 2nd that it starts. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to go double check again. And again, they really need your support. His U.S.-based employees for MyPillow and all the small businesses around the country that make up My Store. We talk all the time about keeping jobs here in America. It's a good way to do it, where you can support our program, support Mike Lindell and his fight for free and fair elections, and support all these U.S.-based employees. Again, use code Insurrection at MyStore or MyPillow.com. Well, we got just a little more to cover here with the Biden lie. Media cover-up unravels. Biden's mental struggles confirmed in damning leaked tapes. This kind of goes back. Originally, this was going to be our big story once the Herc tapes came out. But again, I think these just... Basically, it's solidified that the DNC, the Democrat Party, Biden, his handlers, Kamala Harris, everybody lied to the American people for 4 years straight. And it doesn't matter what kind of book Jake Tapper or whoever else releases. We all know the truth. It's been exposed. Their credibility and their trust in the American people from the American people is completely shot to shit now.
Yeah, well, as a member of the media for 30 years, I was, now I see their plans. They're always niggling and, like trying to say, oh, no, we were just stupid, or no, we were out of our minds. We're going to go to a mental institution immediately. No, And now their strategy is to say, well, it was only happening towards the end of his 4 years. It was 2 years, or it was 90 days, or we had just discovered 180 days before Harris took over the campaign, that he was had prostate cancers, Gleason 9, stage 4, metastasized in the bones, which all the medical experts who are not criminals say takes 10 years to develop. So, I mean, they were pushing this broken, sick, corrupt carcass in front of us for a long time. And I got to say, the media's involvement and the media's complicitness cannot be overstated in this whole thing. And that's as a member of the media. I just love what's happening in the media now. I overheard, so I don't have the exact details, but some sharp-witted Judeo-Christian reporter asked, I believe it was Netanyahu, but it was some other Israeli leader, if it wasn't Bibi, asked him, what was it like when President Trump got elected? And the person responded, it was like we were living in a completely dark room with no lights for 4 years. And then the lights went on immediately when Trump was elected. And that's the kind of difference in having a really super hyperactive, hypermanic lover of America like President Trump in office. I am particularly thrilled with Caroline Leavitt's press briefings, which I love. You can't even compare them to Karine Jean-Pierre and circled back Psaki. Can't stand those people. And today, she's giving 2 and 3 questions to these rodents in the media, which is a total difference. Before they used to be like jockeying and, I just have one quick question. And now she gives them 2 or 3 questions, which they don't even know what to do with because their questions are so superfluous. But one of the great by the way, tomorrow they're having the Take Your Daughter or Son to Work Day, not only in the White House, but for the press. So the press is going to have their kids in the press room. I'm dying to see that because I love kids. Obviously, I have 2 of my own and some grandchildren. I just adore kids in the way, and they're being awakened way too early to politics. But I don't know whether that's a bad thing. I think it is, but who knows? It depends on the kind of politics. But the other thing that she does is the new media person. So this morning she had a guy from Zero Hedge. And I knew something was coming from this guy because I've read some of his stuff. And I was like, okay, brace yourself. This is going to be good. Let's get out the popcorn. And he said, and I'm sorry, I forgot his name. He said the first question was about, he got a couple of questions. The first question was something about, so why hasn't any of the releases of the Epstein information included references to his work with the CIA and Mossad? Why are we not hearing anything about that? And so, I'm at the point where nothing should be redacted. Stop with the redacting. That was a Democrat, sick, twisted, communist thing to do. That's Pravda, TASS, news agency kind of stuff. Do not redact at all. The American people are grown-ups. Treat us like grown-ups. One of the problems of the past 4 years, and really 12 of the past 16 years, and then going back further. I mean, it's just been a whirlwind of awful Democrat presidents. Is that we've been treated like children, and so they've got to stop this business with treating us like children.
Well, at least the children that'll be coming for Bring Your Child to Work Day at the White House tomorrow won't have to undergo being sniffed by Biden while they're there. That's definitely another upside. But yeah, I agree. I think this is the media's complicity in this is a big part of why they have zero trust from the American people. We've talked about this ad nauseum, that MSNBC is down nearly 55 to 60% in viewership. CNN's still down around 40%. I think CBS is hovering at around 30% drop. Washington Post is down 90% of clicks over the last year or so. But this is because nobody trusts them anymore. That even the middle sees them as nothing more than the mouthpiece for the DNC and the deep state. And I really think the lead up to this last election, and maybe this is why, maybe it was because they had to cover so hard for Biden and the DNC's failures, that at some point the middle just stopped trusting them at all. It's probably because 87% of the stories they covered on President Trump were negative, and 89% on Kamala Harris were positive. And it doesn't take anybody with you don't have to have two brain cells to rub together to figure out that something's wrong when the coverage is that divided. That they're not trying to give the American people the truth or give them the facts and let them make up their own mind. They're there to create a narrative. I don't think they're going to get their credibility back anytime soon, and certainly not on the path that they're on. We're going to go ahead, though, and kind of barely shift topics here because this plays into it, too. Rep. James Comer says staffers behind Biden's auto pen scandal when he was clearly in mental decline have been identified. Warren subpoenas are coming. And, I think 100% we need to fight these pardons, that they were invalid, that Biden either didn't have the mental faculties or wasn't making these pardons at all. I mean, we know for a fact that several of these were issued while he was playing golf in, I can't remember if it was the Virgin Islands or where it was exactly, somewhere out there. But yeah, he wasn't. These pardons were issued while he was at the golf course. Somebody used the auto pen then. So, in my opinion, they're not even valid. I don't think he even knew they were issued.
Yeah. So this is part of the Democrats' wish list that we're going to start endless investigations where the Democrats will be asking questions that are like, oh, so did you notice what a nice day it is outside? And the Republicans are like, why did you support an illegal president signing all these orders when he wasn't even in the room, he wasn't even in the country, and he's not even aware they're being signed, President Auto Pen. So the Democrats are always screaming about a constitutional crisis in their own shrieking, low-T, feminine way, and I'm referring to the male Democrats. And they're always shrieking about a constitutional crisis. This is a real constitutional crisis because I don't advocate, endless investigations in Congress where they can just be destroyed. Their effectiveness can be destroyed by psychopathic Democrats sitting up there who have no business in being in our Congress. Jasmine Crockett, yeah. Stacey Plaskett, yeah. We got rid of Cori Bush, but these people have no business being in our Congress and being in our leadership of our country. So I think that what we really need to do, the real constitutional crisis that's coming, is we just need to nullify all of Biden's executive orders during his entire 4 years, and then be willing to take a look on a case-by-case exceptional basis on something he might have signed. But even then, if he was sitting there and signing it himself, we all know he wasn't there mentally, and he was just kind of a puppet. So this is like the auto pen thing is really important, and I know Trump's been pushing on it, and the president is almost always right. Just to skirt back to the media for one quick second. President Trump's been calling the fake news out since 2015. And At first, all the base loved that and realized it was so true. There were other people who were on the fence who were like, "Oh yeah, but he's calling our entire press. They're hardworking journalists, and they're so they're unbiased and everything." And so slowly they've been taught and trained to come over. And so and again, we have another case where President Trump was right. These people have been fake news in the beginning and fake news at the end.
Yeah, well, any illusion that the press was neutral should have been shattered years and years ago, even well before Trump's presidency. It's always been clear there's been a bias, but I do think TDS sent it over into hyperdrive over the last 10 years or so, that they're just completely off the rails now and shouldn't be trusted, and it's finally starting to catch up with them. But yeah, to your point, these pardons and a lot of the legislation that Biden signed, we really do need to look in, like, when did he break down mentally? When was it not him making the decisions, but the people around him? And then are these pardons or other legislation or other executive orders, are these even valid? Like we touched on earlier with Mike Johnson, apparently he had no clue what was being signed or what was being put in front of him. Now, is this he had no clue ever, or is this his brain was just so degraded that he really didn't remember it? I mean, I'm starting to think more and more it isn't just the brain worms. It's he had no idea this was being done at all. It was being done in his name, and he was just being told to smile to the cameras, wave, and try not to crap yourself on your way off stage. All right, well, let's go ahead and pull our next story here. And real quick to the audience, I did see the notes about Rumble. I don't know what the issue was there. I just restarted the feed. It looks like it should be good there now. I don't know why, but we've been having problems on and off with Rumble for about a week now, where for whatever reason it doesn't pick up our feed when we send it out. I literally stop it and restart it, and then it's fine. But for whatever reason, it's not engaging when we start the show. But I'm going to start tomorrow as our intros plan. I'm going to start going over there and making sure it's going out live. Because this is, I think 3 times now in the last 2 weeks where we've had issues with Rumble. All right. We also have this. House Republicans advance Trump's big, beautiful bill after weekend of negotiations. I really, before I celebrate too hard, I want to go through this with a fine-tooth comb and make sure they didn't pervert or insert anything into this bill that's not supposed to be there, and make sure things like the Hearing Protection Act and the Short Act we have real versions of them in there now, instead of the version that stripped the $200 tax for NFA items, but then left them on the NFA registry. Because, I'll be honest, I don't like paying the $200 tax stamp for a suppressor, but I'm much more concerned with getting them off the NFA registry. I'd like to be able to, take suppressors across state lines. If I want to go to, I live right on the border, 50 or 30 miles from the border with Indiana. I can't go over there to a range, bring a suppressor without a permission slip from the ATF. Same with going down to Kentucky. And there's been a couple times now where I've been invited to things that are out of state and then can't bring my suppressors. And again, I know this is petty. This isn't something major that's going to fix our country, but it's something we were promised would be put in this bill. And then at the last minute, they balk and change it. So where else have we been sabotaged?
I don't know. I even heard, there's absolutely no confirmation of this, but I heard that there was a portion in there that was funding transsexual surgeries for, obviously mentally ill people who can't decide, what organs to use. It's crazy. And so if that is in fact in there, I'm sure President Trump's on top of it and is having it removed. The thing I worry about is President Trump has such a full plate. He has to depend on the people around him. And I have no problem with some of the people around him. Others I have concerns and questions about. And so I think this NFA thing is very important. It's Second Amendment. So it's not trivial. I think this is everything that they've done with gun control has been a drip, drip, drip. And they've really chipped away at the Second Amendment. It's time for us to build it back up and destroy any thoughts they have of people like David Hogg, who has, who's a bedwetter and has wet dreams about confiscating everybody's guns. Not going to happen, David Hogg. They're already on top of him. I love watching them eat each other. They're such a cannibalistic little organization. And there's so few people that support the Democrats anymore. It's just like I keep telling a liberal friend of mine, this is where it's going. People hate Democrats now. And just like you've hated Republicans for decades now, you actually actively hate us. Okay, well, now's the time for you to experience the same thing, because people aren't going to vote for Democrats. Let's just ban the party. Let's just ban the party, and they can come up with a new party of, the lunatic fringe that doesn't know what a woman is. I mean, it's crazy. So I really think that this is every little thing that we can get in there, including, so apparently, and I think this is pretty much confirmed, any funding for transgender, for the mutilations of our kids, transsexual. I don't want to use their words anymore. I'm so sick of it. They try to cram their words down our throats. Yes. And we got to stop with that. And so, I mean, they prefer to have us calling ourselves rhinos than the real things a lot of us are, which is derps, Democrats infiltrating the Republican Party, or RPGs, Republicans for personal gain, or RATS, Republicans against Trump. These are the real descriptive acronyms we need to use instead of rhino. But the Democrats, the communists, the Marxists, the pedophiles, they all want us to use rhino because it's so undescriptive. So I really think that I'm with you. We need to keep these things in the bill and make sure they're not inserting absolute demonic stuff in there, which of course they're trying to do. So we need a big, beautiful bill. And President Trump, I just hope he has enough time to go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and that if he doesn't, Stephen Miller's going through it. Because I feel like I can trust Stephen Miller.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're running it through Grok like they have previous pieces of legislation right now to find all this nonsense and garbage in there. And yeah, we better not still be funding, transgender surgeries in Ecuador, all this other nonsense that Doge found and USAID and other government agencies, all this wasteful spending, this abuse, this really money laundering is really what it is most of the time. It's going through some third-party NGO owned by a Democrat congressman's wife, and then they're pocketing, $30 million out of it. We don't need any more. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We don't need any more of this nonsense. The American people are tired of it. And to your other point, well, a couple of them. Yeah, David Hogg better be working on his college education now, because I think even the Democrats have realized that this guy's radioactive and they can't be anywhere near him. Now, I was hoping they would keep him in a leadership role because most of the country can't stand his policies and thinks he's nuts. But I do think the Democrat Party is on a slow road to suicide right now, that once they get blown out in 2026 and they lose another 30 to 60 seats in the House, that they're probably going to have some sort of a division in the party, that the left-wing wackos that are the communists, they're leading them by the nose right now, that they're going to split. They're going to want to double down on stupid, and the few sane people or quasi-sane people left in the Democrat are going to try to split to form a party that's a more traditional, your blue dog Democrat type. But I think it's already going to be too late at that point, that most of the country will have moved over to the mega Republican base, that we're going to be flushing out our rhinos, or our rats, as you called them. We'll start using that term. And they're going to be more aligned with where the country is. The Democrats are going to be further away from that. Maybe that's an opportunity for a real alternative party, like the Sane Libertarians or something like that, to make its way into the conversation.
Yeah, I can hardly wait till David Hogg announces the name of his new husband on Twitter, on X.
Yeah,
it's like Pete Buttigieg. He's tweeting about how he wants to pray for President Biden. Pardon me. I'm sorry, I'm not wasting my prayers on President Biden. No prayer. The prayer window is closed. I've got so many windows closed on this guy. I'm just going to close them, and another door is not opening up for him. But Buttigieg puts out an X that says, I'm praying for President Trump, and then has to insert, Chasten and I are praying for President Trump. So needs to make sure that everybody knows the name of his husband before he runs for president. Of course, he'll be slaughtered. I can hardly wait. But, it's absolute lunacy. The lunacy continues. You would think when somebody has their ass handed to them in an election that they would go home and do what Hillary Clinton did, drink a bunch of wine, crawl into the fetal position for a few months, and just check out. These people aren't checking out because it's like a Hydra head. You cut one head off and the other 7 keep going, and the 8th grows back. It's ridiculous. And so we really have to destroy them fully and completely. The only way I can see that happening is banning the party. They'll still be out there, but they won't be allowed to automatically hand stamp their candidates for president. They won't be allowed to steal money from the taxpayer. They won't be allowed to lock up patriots in prison without a trial for years and years and years. They won't be able to do all the illegal things they've been doing. And that's what, if Rudy Giuliani was still active and hadn't been so horribly beaten down by the left, I would love to see him bring a RICO case against the Democratic Party. That would be something really great, and then start locking those people up. But we've really got to start locking people up. I'm tired of it. I really want to see, the J6 committee. I want to see all the people that we've been talking about indicting and congressional investigations. Let's just lock them up until the investigations are concluded, much like the J6 Patriot prisoners. So, if we can do it to them, we can sure do it to Liz Cheney, Kinzinger, all these Pelosi, the Capitol Police Chief, all these people. And that's just J6. There's so many other places where we can lock people up, like Comey. If Comey isn't locked up for this little shell arrangement that he did on the beach, then I don't know where this country is going still.
Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be able to get Comey on much for the little shell arrangement, because he's just going to feign stupidity, and then getting a jury to convict is going to be difficult. But I think it just highlights the overall mental illness within the Democrat Party, these continued death threats, continued calls to violence. And we got yet another story of that we're going to cover here in a few minutes. that this is who they are, and the American people are finally starting to really see it, that their stooges in the media aren't able to lie for them anymore, and they're going to be irrelevant. They're going to be in the ash heap of history, whether they're banned outright or they just continue this path of self-destruction. But yeah, there's a huge mental health crisis on the left, and that's not changing anytime soon. Guys, we got to take one more quick break, hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more.
Well, hello everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs here on X American News is by supporting our sponsors. You can go to lutfstudio.com, get yourself a unique, one-of-a-kind, handmade piece of artwork from Annie Cyrus. She produces a lot of work behind the scenes here to make X American News happen. She produces a lot of our programs. You can also check out her program, Live Up to Freedom. I think it's this week she's moving to Thursday and Friday. I'll correct that tomorrow if I'm wrong. But again, you can help support her, help support X American News, and help support our program. Just go to lutfstudio.com. And she does take custom orders too. You can, if you see a piece on there you like, you can click the thing at the top, message her. She'll get your price and a timetable back, and you can have something, again, exactly how you want it. All right. Well, we have even more good news. I mean, there's so much good news. I hate to waste time in all the, I guess, retarded news of the DNC cover-up. But President Trump, we now have substantially over $10 trillion of investment following UAE visit. This is something we've talked about numerous times on here, and that we were up over $7.5 trillion, I think, the last time we took account of this. But this is the other reason, like, I am convinced that the Democrats are doomed at the midterm, no matter how badly the media currently is trying to manipulate polling and polling results to paint a picture that somehow there's going to be a sweep of the House and the Democrats are going to be in charge again after the midterms. All these jobs, well, not all of them, but a lot of them are going to be hitting like right about a year from now. We're going to have a massive boom in construction, building these new facilities. We've already got automakers and other companies doing hiring here in the area where I live over in Indiana. There's, I think it's a Stellantis, or however you say it, factory that's hiring 1,200 people. Up in Michigan, they're hiring more. Here in Ohio, they're getting ready to do hiring phases for Honda and for other automakers here in the area, that we're going to have so many new high-paying factory jobs. The economy is going to be just booming, and that's going to just put yet another nail in the Democrats' coffin.
Yeah, what a happy story. I'm so glad we've got some happiness in here. That's great, Michael. How great is this guy? I mean, come on. He's the best there is. I never thought we'd have a better president in my lifetime than Ronald Reagan. But here comes Trump. I mean, all Reagan did was bring down the Soviet Union. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment that he's never given credit for. But obviously, it was a major thing. I never thought anybody would do anything close to that. And here comes Trump firing on all cylinders. I estimate that by September, after this summer, the American economy is going to be just skyrocketing. It's going to blow up because Trump is underestimating, I think. He's being conservative on the amount of deals he has coming in. He doesn't want to say 20 trillion. He's just keeping it at 10 because he knows he has a bunch of other things and he can over deliver rather than under deliver. And that's the key of a good businessman and a good person in business, is that they over deliver when everybody else is under delivering. And that's, you talk about Jimmy Carter or Obama or Clinton or Biden or, anybody else, and they're all under-deliverers, pathetic little weasels who under-deliver constantly. So Trump has an avalanche of deals that are just waiting on the back burner to come through. And I figure within 3 months, we're just going to see the dollar skyrocketing in value. We're going to see inflation at zero. We're going to see the price of oil, like that time during his first term when the price of oil was at zero or below zero.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was like $30 a barrel. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole cost equation in oil was you have to pay to keep it stored, and it wasn't even the cost of it anymore. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the the energy independence thing that I wrote an article for Newsmax on is really something during his first term, or during his first term. It's that's a big part of the whole economic equation because so much is dependent on the price of oil, and as price of oil comes down, it's just going to be great for American consumers and consumers all over the world. They're going to start buying his oil exploration, his oil and gas development, his pipelines. That's all getting ready to be blown out and worked on and being set up right now. As that comes online, we're going to absolutely destroy Russia's ability to sell oil on the open market. We're going to absolutely destroy Iran and any other country that's trying to sell their oil on the sly so they can finance terrorism and nuclear weapons. And, all of what Trump's doing depends on economic success, as he said over in Saudi Arabia. And that was amazing. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of Arabian horses leading the beast slowly up to the palace. I mean, like they really pulled out. Did you see the girls with the hair swinging?
Oh,
they
yeah.
Really,
yeah.
That's apparently something they only do for like honored world leaders and monarchs. And so they really rolled out the red carpet for him, which I think showed the world how important he is currently and how important he will be in the next 3 years and 8 months. When he was over there, apparently the conversation with MBS, when something like this, Trump was saying, hey, we'd like to get a lot of direct foreign investment from you guys. And, where do you think you can start with a promised investment? And MBS said something, this is all just, it's conjecture, but it's got some oomph behind it. So MBS said, I think we can start at 500 million. And then Trump said, oh, that'd be great. We'd be so grateful. 750 actually sounds a little better. And then MBS was okay, 750. And then Trump said, what would really make everybody in America happy and strengthen the bond with our brothers in Saudi Arabia, our brothers and sisters in Saudi Arabia, it would be if you took it to $1 trillion. And then MBS, I heard, said, okay, 1.2 trillion. So this is the way Trump negotiates. The art of the deal is real, and the Democrats turn up their nose and criticize it, but they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't know business. They don't know economics. And so it's so great to see Trump doing these things, and I'm so happy, and people are so happy, but we got it. Unfortunately, it can't be all Mardi Gras for us, even right now. We got to keep our eyes on the evildoers out there.
Exactly, the saboteurs. And you're exactly right. Like Trump understands that you under promise and over deliver, and that really is the key to success. And I think you're right that we're over 10 trillion in promised new investment, but that doesn't count all the businesses that are going to pop up here in the U.S. or expand to support this industry coming in. Like there's going to be a boom in steel and aluminum production from mining to refining. There's going to be a boom in transportation and logistics for these new products. There's going to be other ancillary businesses that pop up just to support the employees, from restaurants and pharmacies and medical positions. All of these are going to get a giant influx of cash and investment as they have rapid growth in manufacturing and development of new products here. And that's again something else that's being ignored. That this isn't going to just light these sections of our economy on fire. It's going to be everything else around them that supports it. That this is going to be huge going into 2026. That there's going to be more new jobs. That we'll have the best economy since Trump's last booming economy. I'd like to say in history, but it'll just be since his last time in office. But I think this is also going to be something else that breaks down this media lie.
Yeah, and all the other things, like today, the president and the first lady are signing in the Rose Garden the Take It Down Act, which is to protect children online. We've got to protect our children. This has got to stop what's going on in the public schools, the demonic transitioning of little kids into cutting off their genitals or making it so they've so harmed their body with pharmaceuticals that they can't have children. But I really love in the bill, some of the things that are in the bill are really great, and really forward looking, typical Trump. We've got to get these things out. And I know Chip Roy and others are saying they're not going to vote for it. Look, let's take it one step at a time. Let's get this in, and we'll try to, address Chip Roy's concerns later on after the big, beautiful bill passes. But I love this MAGA baby account that's being set up, that they're talking about setting up. And Caroline Levitt went pretty deep into it. It's like a 401k for a baby. And who wouldn't want that? Like, let's hear the Democrats. I want to hear Van Jones, and, I want to hear Yamiche Alcindor. Have you seen that woman?
We talked about that.
Yeah, I want to see her criticize I don't think she's in danger of having any offspring anytime soon from the looks of her. But perhaps, maybe she already has kids. I don't know. I'm just stating my opinion. But let's see them go after the MAGA baby bonus, because that's exactly what Orban's doing in Hungary. And people just love him for it, because it's all about bolstering our families. And so Trump is firing on all cylinders is just not descriptive enough. He is doing so many things. He's like that guy at Cirque du Soleil or at some magic show where he's got everything, all these plates spinning on a stick. You just can't believe it. He's juggling chainsaws on a high wire. And he's just unbelievable. And he's not perfect. I criticize him with the best of them. When he makes mistakes, I will be on the front line saying, President Trump, this is a bad thing. But I got to tell you, this is a 1% issue. Now we're talking 80-20s. Most of these issues are 95-5 or 99-1 or 100-0. And Trump is he's on top of all of it. And I just hope Stephen Miller has got to be a pivotal guy for him. And he seems to be the most trustworthy guy I've seen in there. And so I know he's working his butt off. So anyway, this is such good news. And what Trump's doing, he's going to end these two wars. And if it takes him 6 months instead of within 24 hours, as he used to say on the rallies, we all knew that was Trump braggadocio, and it was possible, but it's proving a little trickier than anybody thought. So he's going to solve these wars, and we'll live in a peaceful world, and that'll be his real gift to humanity.
Well, even with the wars, I wonder how much quickly these could have been resolved if not for the sabotage from the Democrats and the Eurocrats trying to encourage Zelensky to keep fighting. And that they would somehow get him support. I think otherwise, if not for those lies, that it would have been resolved months ago. One last
thing I just want to interject about Trump.
Sure.
He issues these little nuggets of coming things he's focusing on, and he just said one thing at the end of the trip, or towards the end of the trip in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE, and he said, "We're trying to accomplish peace through trade." And his thinking that creating prosperity in America first, because it's called America first, but also the other nations around the world. He says, I want Iran to be successful. I want China to be successful, but they got to change their ways. And by doing that, he will completely change the world. We have these college students that are poli-sci majors and go off to the Peace Corps and want to change the world. Great. That's a good thing. But there's only two people, and I'm not comparing them at all. There's only two people who can truly change the world at this juncture in world history. One is President Trump, and the other, of course, is Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, you're right there again, too. Now, I do want to say on this child policy, and I think it's a great idea to do the baby bonus, but we do need to make sure this only applies to children of U.S. citizens. That if because otherwise, I think the Democrats are going to take advantage of this, and this is going to be their new welfare program for all the 30 million invaders they unleashed upon the U.S., that this will be a way to encourage them to stay, because now you're going to get a $5,000 check for a baby bonus. So I think, there's something else that we need to codify into law, that welfare, the baby bonus, anything else like that, any cash payouts to people within the U.S. or programs, assistance programs should only be available to U.S. citizens, not permanent residents, not anybody that's here on a visa, only U.S. citizens.
Good point, Michael. That's why I was buoyed to hear in this morning's press conference with Caroline Levitt. She got a question about the baby bonus. Democrats are suspicious of everything involving babies. What's wrong with these people? And so she got the question, and she delineated some of the things that are in the bill, such as babies born after January 2020, on or after January 1st, 2020. So it's not going to be anything that's going to be retroactive. That's good. Must to a mother and father that are citizens of the United States. So she inserted that in there, and then went into like the spending, like how you can spend an IRA and a Roth account, et cetera.
Yeah.
You know, when you're 25, you can start spending it. When you're 30, you can spend it on anything you want. So it sounds like it's really well thought out. And that just brings up another issue that I don't think anybody actually reads President Trump's executive orders, but I've read them, and I've read Biden's too. And Biden's were suspiciously devoid of any information and really like kind of lightweight, BS filled documents, just kind of like, oh, I'm signing something, you know, President Autopen. But if you read President Trump's executive orders completely, you will find that these are very deep, very well considered, very specific executive orders that save lives and improve the economy and close the border and protect babies, and are going to fix our schools, and you know, all the things that this country needs. You just go down the conservative Trump checklist, and all of his orders cover these things in depth. So I encourage people to go and read his executive orders. They're available online, and they're just something to behold. The proclamations about, you know, Mother's Day. If you read his Mother's Day proclamation, it's a thing of beauty. I defy you to read that and not start welling up with tears, as I'm doing right now.
Well, I'll actually make sure I do that later today. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time here. Bill, I want to thank you again for joining me here today. And Bill's going to be back on and off tomorrow and a couple other days this week. Derek took a secret temporary position helping out with somebody who's running an insurgent campaign. I'll see if how much more information we can give out about that, but I'm sure we'll be able to talk about it later. Guys, again, thank you for joining us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news